Welcome back to the Nassman Hockey Podcast, and thanks for sticking with us after a lengthy pause between episodes. With me, as always, it became recurring guest pretty quickly as the mainstay. Thanks for joining me, Brett Nicholas, on another a snowy evening here in Syracuse. How have you been? How's the snow down there? I haven't heard much.
Just a dusting. There's nothing really going on here. It's already all melted. The hockey season nightmare won't end, but and it's cold, so it's perfect hockey watching weather. Unfortunately, we don't have good hockey to watch.
Yeah, there is something about that when it's an evening game and it's cold outside and like I take the dog out or you do something after work and you come in, it's like, oh, it feels like hockey. And we were kind of talking before we hit record about getting so amped up. And I think I put too much on the team by getting all my stuff set up and my food. And I love Tuesday games because I like making tacos or chili on a Tuesday or something. He said I just get so ready, and I get so very let down, and it really just takes the wind right out of my sails. Weekend games are even worse because they're so bad during the day. Um, and sometimes my other half is out of the house. I'm like, oh my god, this is gonna be just get like an afternoon by myself, and this is gonna be great. And then it's just miserable this season, and really for the last few seasons. But yeah, how where are you with the Islanders right now? It's been a little more than a month since we've talked, and
Yeah,
so much and so little has happened since
my
then.
goal when I started doing this podcast with you was to be the positive voice, kind of shed that give some optimism out there, because I think going into this season, this team, we knew what they were because they didn't do that much to the roster from last season. So we knew what we thought was a bubble team. There are a lot of things that could go the Islanders' way that would make us feel good. And I was like, I'm gonna stick with those threads until they're gone. And I'm at the point where it's done. Like, I think everyone knows this season is 90% done. Mathematically, are they eliminated? No. Have they showed us that they can do anything other than what they've done, where we're going to get maybe one good effort every 5 games? I don't think we're going to get more than that. So they can't make up the points. I
I
don't see
think
how they make up the points they would need to make up.
I think that's kind of where I'm at. Where yes, the math is saying that it could work. Um, they win 7 out of 10 or 6 of 8 to start, or even 4 or 5 really quickly. Because they start after this week, they start playing pretty much every other day for the rest of the month. Um, they can be right back in it. I think a few teams have kind of done that. They've gotten right back into the bubble, like that mushy kind of middle, um, the bubble, the wild card race. And yeah, you're exactly right that they've shown us that they can't do that. They win exactly one game a week, and barely. Like they just squeak out that win in Boston, and I think under regular circumstances that may have been fine, like resiliency win and whatever you want to call it. But in this season, it was just like I don't know. It kind of feels lucky, or like on accident,
Yeah. I
and
mean,
it's difficult.
yeah.
I
And
don't
this,
have the optimism either.
we're at the halfway point of the season. We're at 40 games. So we have 42 left. So basically halfway there. And this podcast is starting to take the tone of a post-mortem,
Well, and
which it
and
might
I
it might
I
be a little early
do.
for a post-mortem, but that's how it feels with this team. And I think that's how anyone. I mean, Optimum Cable's given up. They stopped showing the games. They said we can't do this anymore. It's hurting, hurting. We can't even
that
watch them on Long Island.
that's a really funny take. They may have just given up. It's like, yeah, who's watching? It's not even worth any of this for anybody.
I
They
have to
may have,
pirate the games, man. Like I have to go to my secret sites.
yeah. They don't. To be fair, the NHL really doesn't want you to pay
Yeah,
for this service because even here, and I used to tweet about this. Um, Gotham Sports, I have. access to a paid account. I cannot watch it in Syracuse all the time. Not every game is available here. So I don't I don't know what the purpose of that is. Like watch every Islander game. You can't. I never had a problem with MSG, the
Yeah.
MSG Plus. Watched every I had no problem with that. As soon as they made the switch, it's been a nightmare. I know I'm not the only one. I've looked on Reddit, um, which with the way Google and Twitter have been going, Reddit seems to be like the somewhat place of sane people and answers and like
Oh, well,
actual
hold on,
things.
hold on. There's no
But
one sane posting on Reddit. But
what I'm seeing anyway, as
if you
long as
Google anything, they're all sick freaks on Reddit. All of them. If you Google anything though, if you Google any question, the first thing that comes up is Reddit anyway. So
yeah, well, now I started putting Reddit at the end because I'm like, I just want to go straight to people actually having a conversation about this. It's been helpful, more helpful than Twitter and Google AI have been, which is a different conversation. Um, God, we got off track pretty
quickly,
quickly there. Yeah, I don't think it's a postmortem, and I do very much want to. I want to avoid two things: hyperbole, and I don't want to exaggerate anything. Right, like this isn't the worst it's ever been, and it's the worst it's been in 5 years. Granted, the last three have been the same. This is year 3 or 4, depending on how you really want to count that weird the last Barry Trotz year, with the opening of UBS and the travel and COVID and whatever. So I'm willing to give them a little room on that, but it's 3 or 4. So I don't want to exaggerate. I also don't want to dive into like who we're going to trade and who's available. And if we're going to save the season, let's do this because it's not, I don't think that's a worthwhile exercise. It's sad. It's post-mortem-y. I kind of want to just deal with what's happening and where they're going in the immediate term. Even if that means like they're not going to make the playoffs. Let's just talk about why. Like, let's just talk about that in the context of what we know in this moment. And we may come back in a few weeks and have this conversation and be like, wow, leading up to the Four Nations Cup, like they or whatever the hell it's called, uh, they totally changed their tune. So I'd like to steer away from that if we can.
sure. I will. So I don't think. Yes, this is not the worst team we've ever watched. I don't remember the late '90s. I was 7 to 9 years old. Those teams were really bad. And I just, I just don't remember them because I was a 7 to 9 year old. They don't really pay attention to the whole happenings around the league. So I will say, post full season lockout, though, this has been the least enjoyable season. Let's say that. I think like pre-Tavares drafting, when we're playing like a Josh Bailey that's not ready for the NHL in his rookie season, and like they were
Right.
definitely a bad team, and that's fine. Like I don't think there's anything even wrong with a bad team because there's hope behind them. The problem and the reason why this team is unenjoyable is because we have hope for a winning team, and they're not even close to that, and it feels like there's no future with this team either.
Sorry about that. Some technical difficulties as we were recording. So, Brett, I believe what you were saying was, this, you don't remember the 90s. It's not exactly, because the team was really bad then, but you don't remember. And then it's kind of feeling like a different time period. I think that's where you were about to go.
Yeah, the sum of all my thoughts before technical difficulties is just that this team feels hopeless and they're difficult to watch. Whereas a bad team that is bad, you going in, they're bad, and like you have hope for the future. This team doesn't have that right now, and that's why everyone kind of feels down on it. And it kind of feels like there's a bit of a cloud over this because it just I don't know what we're doing out there. We're not. We might end up with a good pick overall, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to win, and we're not close to that. So it just is a very frustrating place to be. I don't think with the Islanders, I've never been there before, where you're supposed to win and you're bad. We've always been bad when we're supposed to be bad. or we've been good when we're supposed to be bad. Like
That's a really good point, and I think, and it's funny because I just wrote this down. I think this is definitely a few years of bad on accident, and on paper, and James and I said this for years. Like continually every year, you had Pajot was added, and Palmieri was added, and Horvat's added, and Duclair's added, and then you do all the, it hasn't been a lot around the edges lately. You kind of just it's been some small parts, but nothing really kind of major. Players in and out, they kind of, I don't want to say clean house, but Beauvillier and Bailey. The point is, over time, since the 1920 season, on paper, this has been the best roster we've seen in a long time, like consistently, and mostly because it's been a lot of those same players. And every year they make these little tweaks. And you're like, okay, maybe not having this guy around will be good, right? Like they shed the space, and then they do find a way to add, and they pull in Duclair. But you're right, we're not here for the draft picks. I know, what's his name? Cole Iserman, whatever his name is, winning gold medal and playing really well.
And Danny Nelson's on a team.
And Danny Nelson, like, oh, that's great. I saw today, like, oh wow, Islanders farm system actually not. I can't tell you how much I don't want to read how the farm system's not that bad now. First of all that stuff's like, it is bad. It is bad, but like it's all voodoo magic anyway. So like it's Mike and Dan at Islanders Anxiety call them professional liars. I by and large, I kind of believe that it's magic beans. You don't know what you're getting unless it's McDavid or something crazy like that.
Teams know how to develop. There's certain teams
they know how to develop, but like the picks on their own, it takes so much time. Look at the Islanders, right? All these first round draft picks, they don't know how to develop. It's been leading up to and including Wallstrom, not been great for some time. Forward anyway, or since Brock Nelson.
At least Wallstrom didn't go and light it up for the Bruins. He's been bad in the 7 or so games he's played for them.
Yes, and that was didn't light up the Islanders on Sunday evening. But I think the hard part is, and it's exactly to your point, when they were supposed to be bad, they were bad. They've been bad and surprised us. Like, wow, that roster didn't really improve, or this or that, or whatever the case was over the years. The 14-15 season, I don't think we expected that, right? Or the 15-16 season where they actually win around. They beat the Panthers. They have these 100-point seasons. They're scoring machines. Like, we haven't really experienced that before. I followed the team pretty closely for a long time. Like, I remember I was at the game at the Coliseum when they beat the Capitals in 2002 to make the playoffs for the first time since '93. Like, I remember that. That was a big, and I remember knowing that was what was at stake that night.
I remember when they went to the playoffs that I waited in line at the Smith Haven Mall for at the Islanders team store to get tickets. It sold out. My dad had to get them on eBay because I didn't get tickets. Like I wasn't at the Sean Bates game. I was at the game after. I was at game 4. That was game 3. Like, but or vice versa. I was at game 3 and that was game 4. But like, anyway, it's just, we've been watching this for a long time, and it's not. This isn't. I don't know.
It's. I think this, and I might hammer this one more time here, but I think that's what hurts the most. Is I've seen this team be bad before. Like, that's normal. It hasn't been. The team hasn't been the first few years of the show. The team was really good. It was actually very fun to do this. The last 3 years have been really hard.
Yeah,
and it's because they've kind of just progressively got worse. The product day in and day out has been not just hard to watch, taxing. It takes something out of you to watch. But I think it's the joke, and he took that personally. Like, the team being this bad is like, you were supposed to be good. It's totally different than it was in the past. It makes it that much less enjoyable when you love this roster Like, and this was, I think I posted something on Blue Sky about this because Arthur Staple had a great article, kind of saying like it's time, like it's the reckoning is coming for this roster. Something they just don't know it yet,
Yeah.
and it was hard to read that because you love these guys. They've done so much for you. They've through especially Nelson and Lee and Sezikis, they've been around for so long, and it's hard
I
to
only
know it's
love
the moment.
Nelson. I'm sick of these guys, man.
Well, Lee's been good this year.
I owe Lee an apology because he was like a guy. I said, ship him out of here. I full disclosure, I think we should ship him out of here for get pieces for him. But he's having a great season. He's
Yeah.
on pace for over 30 goals.
That to me isn't the whole story with him, and what I maintain is that his leadership on the something's
It's still
up.
lacking. It's still
Like
lacking,
it's still, I think, and you know, to kind of get into what I've noted here as the specifics, is there's no emotion, right? Like you're not, and this isn't just like Lee being a captain and like fighting someone, right? Like I don't think they definitely don't have that grit anymore. They're that's not their
Yeah.
identity, which is okay. They also don't have an identity, and it's not even overly emotional. Like their identity isn't, God, these guys care so much. They are going through the motions. I don't understand it.
I mean, they're all human, right? These are humans. And when you let up a goal, all like in basically one of every 3 penalties you take goes in your net. I think the lack of emotion we're seeing is these guys are beat down without answers and they don't know what to do. And it's like collectively they're hoping for a miracle to straighten them out. That's not coming. They have to do it themselves.
Yeah.
And that's where the leadership comes in.
And it's not Patrick Waugh either, right? Because he's saying, I know there's nothing to show for it. What did he say the other night?
Oh, he's like, I don't have the stats to back. That's
I
not a
have nothing
great
to
quote.
back this up. But
Yeah,
like
that's not
they're
really
playing good. I'm like, dude, you're the fiery guy. You like broke sticks over people's heads and shit. Like,
yeah,
what?
it's just, yeah. I don't know. They don't have that emotion, but I think it's just because they're so beat down and there's nothing for them to be excited about because they're always like waiting for the other shoe to drop. And they have to like work past that. And we're 40 games in, they haven't been able to work past it. But when you're just constantly worried, it's hard to be happy about and exciting scoring goals when they're probably not enough.
Well, especially, I can't imagine you're up 3-0,
Say 4-2
4-1,
or 4-2, and you lose,
yeah.
and you go to overtime against the Bruins. Like,
Right. Well, you're up.
and that wasn't a terrible game, but like,
yeah, like you're up 3-1. It's the intermission between the second and third. Are you not shitting your pants in the locker room? Like, I want to so badly know what that conversation is because you just give up leads. Like, what is it? Just like, all right, boys, tighten up. Like, tighten up here. Like, I picture that bullshit chatter that you always see on these little shows that give you inside look into locker rooms, and like it has to be more than that at this point for this team. We'll never really know, but like you have this a shell of who he was as a player in Patrick Waugh. If he isn't just throwing garbage cans in the like, short of being a crazed JV hockey coach, I don't know what's gonna break them out of this slumber. And I love what you were saying is like help isn't coming. You have to you have to figure this out on your own. And it doesn't seem like they have any interest in that because 40 games in to a repeated mistake-ridden season, how do you not know? And that's why I think the staple piece was important. It was like, why are they not seeing what we're seeing? And then Lamorello would never get on a microphone and be like, oh yeah, this team's bad. Like, yep, made a mistake. He's too trained. The coach isn't going to say that. The players aren't going to say that.
Well, they're all competitive players. In general, you don't get to the level that they've gotten without being ultra competitive, right? You don't get to the best in the world without being that competitive. So these guys are always going to believe they can do it because that's how they got to where they are now in their careers. But and they're not going to give up. But from an outside observer, you know that it's not it, and they are trying. Like I don't believe when I
It's
never
not an
believe.
effort thing.
Yeah, I never believe when they're like when people are like, oh, they just didn't come to play. No, they came to play. They just played bad, like, and they got smothered by a system and mentally couldn't pull out of it. But they showed up to the rink and they want to play the hockey game. They don't want to lose. No player is going out there to lose or going out there not feeling like playing. Like,
Yeah, there's something. It does, and I wrote a blog post about this a little while ago about there were times um, in this franchise's history, really more recently since 2010, 11, like, post Tavares, like after he was drafted, that helped define who this team was, give them an identity. And it was Fight Night 2011. Then they give the Penguins a great run for their money in 2013 in that playoff series. You and I went to that together, and I believe you fell asleep.
no, I fell
Not
asleep.
that one.
No, that was a home opener.
Playoffs? We're talking about playoffs? You bet we are. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is key in the playoffs, and you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score 6. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. This weekend, the Chiefs are -7.5 favorites against the Jaguars with an over-under set at 51 points, and the Eagles are -3 against the 49ers. Lines and odds are subject to change. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use promo code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
Those moments along the way, 2015, they come so close to beating the Capitals. They really just blow it in Game 7 of that series in 2015. Then they finally get over the hump against, then Tavares leaves and they play with this chip on their shoulder and they're the underdogs, and the identity, finally everything culminates. There's the right amount of emotion, the right amount of anger, and it just, something beautiful happened there for a little bit. And what I wrote is they need a new moment. I don't know what that is. I don't want it to be blow up the roster because like I said earlier, I don't want to talk about that. That's not productive. It's not fun, and we don't know what's going to happen. But they need something to happen. They need. You'd think it would have been like Josh Bailey not coming back, or Clutterbuck not coming back, or Pavilion not coming back, and them feeling some sort of way like they were responsible, and they've just not shown that, right? Like they just want to be together. All we hear is they're so tight. There really isn't nothing to show for it.
The moment that they need, it's outside the locker room. We do need to blow it up, and we're not going to go down each player. We could probably save that for a later podcast. Because I'm telling you, I can give you a thought on every single player and where I think they should be and shouldn't be. But there's nothing. I've seen all I can from this team. They to their credit,
it's run its course.
Yeah. To their credit, their 5-on-5 numbers are fine. Like they're and this could go to another point you have up here. This team is living and dying by their special teams. And it was last season too. They were living and dying that way, but they managed to make the playoffs. And then
they're just dying.
Now, yeah, that's true.
Roadkill.
It is so bad. And the only thing we can do is change the personnel. They've gone through the coaches. It's the personnel on the ice.
That's the heartbreaking part, right? They've literally done. They're 3 coaches in. They've gotten rid of older guys. They've gotten better on that front, like younger. But some changes. Isaiah George is like the one bright spot, and then he gets injured, which is horrific. But continue.
Yeah, it's just this team is good 5-on-5, but they're so atrocious on the penalty kill and the power play that we've literally lost like 8 games. If this was a league average power play, which at 5-on-5 they're league average, so why can't they be that way in the power play? If this was a league average power play and penalty kill, we're in the playoffs comfortably in the 3rd spot in the division. Like, this isn't me like fan casting games. These are games that we're losing by 1 goal. We lost 2-1 to Toronto because we can't kill a penalty. Like, it's countless games where we're giving up those points, and it's all special teams related. It's nothing to do with their 5-on-5 play. So it's just like, you need to fix the players because there's nothing we can do with what we have. We've tried the coaches. They can't make a decision. Like, these players on the ice cannot move the puck quick enough to not shoot into the goalie's chest. That's what it is. We don't have the shooters. We don't have the passers. We don't have the decision makers.
Yeah, that energy just isn't there. That like tenacity of, there's a pep in their step. I don't know what cliche to use here, but this is becoming a case, and I've said this on the show for years, and I think it was even the last 2 years that I've said this specifically, or maybe even 3, and this is going on 4. At the end of the year, and we're a little further away. You're saying 8 wins different, right? That's 8. That's not a lot, 40 games. That's a lot. That's
20%.
20% more
that's
wins.
16 standing points.
It's 16 standing points, but
that's so many.
It's so many. So like that would be amazing. I think of it a little more simply. You're much more of a math guy than me, but I think about it like even just 4 wins. Talk about 1 win a month, different. Win 1 more game. I don't care how you do it. I don't care if it's the same numbers on the power play and penalty kill that we're looking at right here, and you just found a way to win it 5-on-5. 8 points. 8 points. Totally different conversation. Wow, they're really like it would be an extension of how we felt maybe the last episode that we did, right? In early December. They're right there. They're every next game is a must win, kind of like if they just kind of do 2 out of 3 for a little bit, maybe 5 of 8 or before Christmas, like they can really just be in the right mix and then come back fresh and like do your thing. Emotional games against Toronto, like you can really figure this out. And it's kind of just run its course where they've fallen out of that and they need to, like, I don't know if you saw the Adam Gretz article about like what every team needs to do. And I think you were saying earlier something about that, like the 87 points, like it would take a monumental effort from a team that simply has not shown they can do that. And the special teams, I found this note because I really wanted to contextualize. I don't know that I even knew how bad it was, but Braden Point by himself has as many power play goals as the Islanders.
Yeah, that's embarrassing.
I didn't even bother to look at what the Tampa Bay Lightning's power play rate is, or how many goals they scored, or how many they've done in the season, whatever. It was just bad enough that I had stumbled across that number, that they're 11 for 100 on the season.
Yeah, it's historically bad. And like the last, it's not even like, oh, it's historically bad, but the next worst one is also kind of close. The worst power play ever is like 68%. We're like 4 percentage points behind it. it's the worst power play. It is so bad because they can't move the puck. I'm tired of Barzal carrying this thing. I mean, he's just back. Like, he was out for a while, and it was still bad without him. But, like, I'm tired of the Barzal power play. It doesn't work. We have
He's
no
also
one
been
that
not noticeable at 5-on-5 for the most part too. And
he's
to be
probably
honest,
battling through stuff.
I'm
still.
sure, but at the same time, James and I used to have this argument. He's not an elite player.
No, we've talked about on this podcast that he's not.
Yeah. So like
elite.
I don't. A lot of pressure is put on him to be this savior, and you'd think collectively, Barzell, Horvat, Duclair, Nelson could figure it out one way or another. That more than the sum of their parts, that offense could get it done. Lee kind of comes in there. That's 5 good players. That's a good little mix there. It's 2 good lines that can score a bunch of goals, and
they can't though.
Barzell's supposed to be this kind of like step above, young guy. He can skate like the wind.
He's the electricity we need, but he's not providing it.
He's not showing up like that, and I think, like we've also said a bunch of times, he overdoes it, just like Tavares used to do when he was alone. When he was just like, I just tries to do too much with the puck. And I was watching, I forget what game. It was the ESPN game with the Leafs, I believe. And Kevin Weeks is just saying, he's like, Barzell has to attack. Doesn't have that attack mentality. He's looking off the shot every time and making a pass. When he has a clear path to the net, he's just not doing it. He doesn't have that instinct to do it. I understand being a pass first guy. I am not in the NHL, if you haven't noticed. That's my mentality too. I'm not I don't look when I play. I'm looking for the pass, or I'm looking to get it to the net for a rebound. Like, I'm not shooting to score. So I get that as an essence of a player, but in the NHL, when you're a professional, you have to adapt. He's proven he's unable to do that, and it's hurt the team.
Yeah.
He's not changing his style he should be making the players around him better. He's not
He
doing
should be
anything.
like, when your best player, everyone always talked about how Crosby every summer he worked on something, and he came back the next season and he was like great at it. That's what every team needs from their best player, and that Barzal doesn't do that. He doesn't reinvent his game.
Exactly.
And you have video upon video of every single thing you do, and every team has it. The book's out on you, dude. You gotta change the story.
Yeah, and he doesn't use the skills that he does have. I remember from the initial season, his rookie season, he was much more of a north-south, just burning guys outside and really utilizing the speed, and he just hasn't done that in a really long time. And yeah, there's no versatility to his game. It is, yeah. I think what I thought you were going to say, and I think what you said was a good point about like the book's out on you. How do you not know it? Hey, what I'm doing isn't working. I'm going to not do that anymore. Like, you're not watching. Don't they have video sessions? Like, there's no game tape where you're like, oh shit, as an individual, I'm not talking about like, the power play or this. Like, what's going on? Like, you're not watching yourself in these videos.
It's
like,
just
shit.
It's just you fall into habits because it has to become second nature. Again, everything happens so quick at the NHL. It's not just like you don't really have time to think. Your thinking process needs to be your reaction, and it needs to be like it needs to be innate and second nature. And he is not making whatever change. He's falling back on what he knows he can do. He's not trying new things.
As a professional, though,
it's
I just
hard.
see like it's
not just not as easy.
It's literally your job to do that.
It
is.
It's
not that easy, right? Like
you can't just be like, oh, next game do this completely different thing than you've been doing your whole career. If that's like, it's just hard to fall back on that.
Yeah, but it's been,
and that's not to give them an excuse, because I'm not trying to make excuses for our players. I'm just saying why it's not happening and why we need to blow it up.
Yeah, well, it's. I totally hear you. I think maybe my point and what I should have said was, it's been going on for years now. At any point, you could have worked on it over the summer, like you said,
Yeah.
and been like, this isn't working. So no, I'm not expecting it to happen overnight. And best time to plant a tree, 20 years, blah blah blah. But like we're at a point where the team is now a laughing stock. Like they're not just bad. Like it's out on the Islanders now that like they've been on ESPN. They played Toronto a bunch. Like this isn't a good team. There's no like, wow, it's such a stalwart defensive system or any of this stuff. Like people know that this team is bad now. And
Yeah.
it doesn't make it any easier to watch and then read up on it. And then we're reliving, preparing for tonight. It's like reliving a month's worth of bad hockey in an afternoon and an evening. And then and then we talk about it again. I'm like, hockey fans are a special breed of crazy. Islander fans take that to a different level. We are the most punk band in a punk sport. Like DIY, our own cheering section. Like it's totally built like grassroots stuff. Like this for the community, by the community kind of stuff. And so you have to be a certain level of crazy to be a fan of this team. But it feels like, I don't know. I'm not ever going to give up on this team. But I think like we were saying earlier, it's just become taxing to watch it because they're supposed to be good and they're not. And they have
I'm not mad at them. I'm just disappointed.
It's like there are children.
I'm still gonna be their fan. I'm not going anywhere either. But it's just they're an infuriating team, and right now, it's like, I don't know. We try it. You hope for everything to work out, and it just I'm out of ways that I can look at them in a positive light right now, and I just think this team needs major revamp and heads need to roll.
Yeah, it's when every mistake is a deadly one. Like it's not just every once in a while or whatever. It's seemingly and we're usually on the receiving end of the Bo Horvat OT winner against Boston, right? Like that's how it's been all season.
Or
against the Islanders.
Or Buffalo, like you have a team that is reeling. They're 13 or 14 losses in a row. They get you, and not only do you lose, they blow the doors off you 7-1. Like, how do you? I don't know how that happens. That's the most embarrassing game of the season. Like, listen, the Sabres were not going to lose every game for the rest of the season. Like, that's not how hockey works. So they were going to win eventually. And it makes sense that it happened against the Islanders. And I would still be upset if it was a 4-3 win. But to be 7-1, it's just like you guys.
One team showed up foaming at the mouth. It should have been the Islanders. That should have been, man, we really need this. What a great time to be playing Buffalo.
Yeah.
And just it should have been reversed. Man, everyone who needs a goal, who needs a break out of a slump. Let's get the monkeys off our back here. That was the beginning of the month. I don't even remember. That was so long ago.
Yeah.
I don't even remember when they played the Sabres. When was that? December. It was right before Christmas. It actually wasn't that long ago, kind of. It's because it was so bad. But like you're coming off a great win off against the Maple Leafs. A great 6-3 win against the Maple Leafs. And then you're playing. Yeah, like that at that moment, they're coming off of, some losses. They're up and down like they have been all season. But you beat the Maple Leafs. And you go, okay, that's a good bounce back after losing the Hurricanes 4-0. Let's get some momentum before the end of the year. Like this could be really good. And they lose to the Sabres as they did. And they beat the Penguins. They put up 6 on them again.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, if you beat the Penguins again, you're really in the mix now because that was an important thing. Sabres thing is embarrassing, but we can almost forget about it if you just beat the Penguins and you've all of a sudden you've won 3 or 4. Not only do you then lose to the Penguins, then you lose to the Maple Leafs twice in a row, and then you're just out of it. You've just put yourself those are your 4 wins.
Yeah.
Like those are the 3 wins, and then the Bruins game doesn't even feel good. It's we're probably circling the drain a little bit here, but it's that stretch at the end of December could have been great. We could have been sitting here. I don't think like thrilled by any stretch, but like okay, they've figured it out. We've seen teams.
Yeah.
The St. Louis Blues in 2019. They figured it out and they won the Stanley Cup. I don't believe that's the Islanders, and I don't want them to fight. I think they actually fought each other in a practice, if I'm not mistaken. Like there was players were actually fighting each other
The
on the
Blues?
Blues like years ago.
Oh, I don't
So like I'm not suggesting it needs to like blow up and need to hate each other, but
I don't know. Some anger is good.
yeah, this is the I don't know if you're a Shorzy fan, but they don't need to love to win, but they definitely don't hate to lose. They are just taking it on the chin. They are punch after punch, just taking it, and you don't kind of tying back into that emotion. Like they're not going out there, and they used to play games not to win, but they were trying not to lose.
Yeah.
This is even a step further than that. Like they're going out there, they've already lost.
Yeah.
The power play is so bad, special teams are so bad. You're down 1 or 2 goals. You've handicapped yourself every game. You're down 2 to start. And you don't score 3. You barely score 3 goals a game. So the fact
they
that
don't score 3 goals a game, it's like 2.64. They're below 3 goals a game.
So you already know you've lost the game before you started.
Yeah,
you're going into there going, we're not going to win tonight.
This season really, at the end of the day, the first half of the season, this half of the season can be underscored or written in one line, and it's special teams kills Islanders. Like it's
that's the storyline that other people are writing too. So it's like I said, the cat's out of the bag. And it's not even just Islander folks who we've known this for a while. It's out there. People are reading it. People are writing it rather, and then reading it. But yeah, I don't. After a month, I really did. I was looking forward to it. It was going to be cathartic as much as it's hard to find time, and I'm really hoping that the remainder of the season, I'm back in my office and I can not sit on my very cold porch anymore. But I was hoping to have more to say.
Every podcast we do, I always look at the week ahead and I tell you how they're playing all these bad teams. So there's lots of points up for grabs. And I'm looking at the schedule. Thursday, we got the Golden Knights. They have the most points in the league. So pencil that one in as a win because we'll play up to them. After that, we got Utah.
That's actually possible.
No, that's what I'm saying. Possible. Like they play up some Utah after that on January 11th. That team doesn't even have a name. We should win that game. Then we have the Senators, whose goalie is out with an injury. He's out. He's hurt week to week, so he's not playing that game. Then we have the Flyers. They're above the Islanders in the standings, but they're not a good team either. No. And then we have the Sharks, another bad team besides Celebrini. And then
a quick pause here. That the Senators game kicks off 7 at home in a row. So like throughout the rest of the month, after they get home from Utah, they are at home. And then they play the Flyers at the end of the month, which is a bus ride. Like this should be, if there was ever a time to heat up against you're going through
that's
the
what
teams,
I'm saying. It's at home. And they're bad teams. So like again, I always say, I told you I'm done with the hope in this season. But now we have this 6-game stretch coming up, or 7 games. Like, again, I'm joking. Like, the Golden Knights, if they lose, I'm not like they're a much better hockey team. I don't expect to win. Hey, if we get one, great. But after that, we have 6 straight games against Utah, Senators, Flyers, Sharks, Blue Jackets, Flyers. that's 6 games that are winnable. But we're also a bad team, so maybe we don't beat the bad. But that's why we don't beat the bad teams, because we're also bad.
I think
But
that's like we're not a good team anymore. So it's not worth like it's not like, oh well, we're bad, but we're not that bad. It's like, well, actually look up
we
and
are, yeah.
literally have to look up in the standings to at the rest of the league, right? We're second to last above Buffalo in the league.
In the conference, yeah.
In the conference, I thought it
Yeah.
was the whole.
No,
Is there something worse in the West? I don't even know.
No, in the league, yeah. First off, the Blackhawks are the worst. We're 27. So there's 5 teams, but like we're playing
San
San Jose and Buffalo, both below us, and then I guess
or Seattle.
Yeah, we're not. I don't think we're playing them. But we got Utah, who's actually like middle of the pack.
Oh, I'm sorry, Utah. That's how I was thinking of.
They don't have a name, so it's hard to remember them.
Yeah, it's I'm like, there's no Phoenix anymore. Oh yeah.
But like, so we're playing bad teams coming up. Let's get some points. I still don't have hope for this team. But you make the season interesting, because I know this isn't a team that's tanking, so I'm not rooting for losses. I'm rooting for wins. Like,
yeah, it's
I'd love James Hagan to be on the Islanders. He's from Long Island. He grew up an Islander fan. He's the projected number 1 overall. But it sucks to root for that, for your team to lose every game. So I'm going in. I'm rooting for them to win, and see what they can do. I don't know. It's where I'm at.
Yeah, I'd love for them to just not even just go on a run. I guess just play good hockey. I guess it feels like there's a shoe going to drop. And I don't know what's going to happen. We said we weren't going to talk about it, but what I will say is it's just going to loom over the Islanders, and it's not going to maybe it makes a team play better. Maybe that's the thing where it's like, if you don't get your shit together, there is an opportunity here, because the East is open. Like you have to go on a tear, but it is possible. If the shoe, the looming shoe dropping actually motivates these guys, maybe we should talk about it. You know, like if maybe they are internally, I don't know. Again, no one knows what's actually going on, but
I think
they need something. Maybe that's it. Maybe they just need to know that it really could be over, and you're gonna 4 of these guys could just be gone.
If we were in a media heavy market where like they're talking like, all right, Lee, you're a bad captain. Nelson, you're out of here because you're not score. Which he's having a down year in his contract year. Like, if they were talking about these guys and they were hearing it on the regular, maybe you're right. Like, maybe that would be what kicks them in the ass, because right now they could just get float by like, who's upset? 2 dudes sitting on a podcast. Oh no.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, there's no like, they can just go to Stop and Shop and like no one cares. There's like, that looks like an athlete. Like, look how in shape that dad is.
Yeah.
And like that's like no one knows who these people are, which must be to some degree great. The idea Patrick Waugh is just around somewhere, getting a bacon, egg, and cheese from a deli kills me. It's so funny. But yeah, these guys just live in anonymity and they don't have to worry about anything, and no one's pressuring them. I mean, they get booed at home on home ice, and then I don't know. You'd think they'd just be more mad, like outwardly, and not trying to make some excuse. Especially the coach, like especially Waugh is. I beat that to death. I just don't understand it. I don't know where that went.
Well, I think he's a player's coach. He's a fiery guy. I think that's still there, but he's not just going to yell to the media.
Oh no, I think it's just at least showing like you're upset. On the bench, there's nothing. He's kind of pouting.
Because he's mad at Lou. He's not mad at the players. He's like, Lou, you gave me this shit squad. Like, he's probably like, Lou, I can't wait till I have your job. Please leave this organization.
Yeah, that's a whole nother discussion of like, Yeah, and I don't like that because everything is just so under lock and key and no one knows anything. I hate years ago just like speculating just got old for me. I doesn't that's an interesting thought. I don't although Wah said he doesn't really want to do that, so I'm
Yeah,
sure you're joking.
I don't. Yeah, I don't even read the articles that are rumors about it. I just think Lou needs to go, and I'd be happy with basically anyone not named Lamarillo.
At
'Cause
a
I
certain
don't want
point,
I don't want Chris to like overtake him, like take his role because that's gonna suck too.
oh yeah. Oh my
Um,
god.
give me honestly anyone. I can't. Well, not anyone. Like I don't want Peter Chiarelli coming in like from the grave, but no, he's still alive. I mean, like great hockey grave. That was weird to say. But like, yeah, I don't know. I just need a new GM. I need him yesterday.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. At the risk of repeating the entire episode, this might be the end here. Unless you have another final point. That sounded like a pretty good one.
Yeah, no, I got no more final points. I hope they win the next 6 games they play.
Yeah, I hope the New York Islanders win their hockey game. So as a quick programming note, we're going to try to get at least one episode out a month moving forward. If not 2, we'll see how schedules align. And like I said, once my office is back up and running, it might be a little bit easier. Might be a little more motivating than having to warm up my freezing cold porch with a heater just to sit out here and do this for a couple hours. So in the meantime, I might fire up the blog a few more times and get some thoughts out as the games go. Try to stay engaged. We're thinking about the future of the show. So we'll kind of keep you up to date with that. But for now, that's what's going on. And
one more thing to say. Sorry, John.
Go for it.
Any listener, if there's people listening that are on Long Island and don't know how to pirate a game, I'm on Blue Sky. Look up the Nassau Men podcast. I'm tagged in the post, and I'll tell you what websites to go to. I have lots of them.
We can't necessarily and shouldn't condone any of this, but yeah, we'll see.
Reach out to me, and I'll show you what websites.
Yeah,
to
this is
from.
not condoned by the show. Mr. Nicholas will take care of you. And
bit of a renegade to play by my own rules.
Yeah, well, the league just makes it so hard, and the Islanders and all this kind of stuff. Please rate, review, subscribe wherever you listen to or watch the show. You can follow us on Blue Sky and YouTube at Nassau Men Hockey, and you can subscribe to NHP the blog on Substack, not Patreon. I think I kept saying Patreon. It's definitely Substack. So I apologize if you were looking it up and nothing was coming up there. That's why, because it was everything's been on Substack, and that's where I've been posting blogs. So I apologize for saying that. We're not doing this enough for me to catch the errors and actually know that they're happening. So apologies, and thanks again if you're listening, especially at this point in the show. Thanks for sticking with us. We appreciate those that have stayed with us the entire way here. But until next time, let's go Islanders.